having us here. We would like to interview some of questions regarding to our topic that is culture and foreign language learning. Can you please introduce a little bit about yourself, like your profession, background, and something like that?
Thank you very much. Good morning to all of you. My name is Veronica Petrus Atin. I've been in UMS for almost 20 years actually. I joined in as a tutor in 1998 as an English tutor. And then I went to do my master's and came back in the year 2000 as an English lecturer. And later when they found out that there is a vacancy for Kadazandusun lecturer, and they discovered that I did quite a number of research on Kadazandusun, they asked me to handle Kadazandusun, the management. They requested the management. So basically I was in English and Kadazandusun for a long time. And then some years back, I was asked to focus on Kadazandusun so I could write some teaching and learning materials for the 3 levels of Kadazandusun. And this semester I'm back to teaching half Kadazandusun and half English.
Foreign language has a lot of advantages for students. In your opinion, how should students maintain and increase their foreign language skills?
Okay, that's a very good question actually. Actually, it really depends on the student's learning style. One of my current research is the learning style of students and how they can use the learning style to increase or learn foreign language effectively. So first of all, a student will need to know their learning style. Basically, there are 3 prominent learning style, which is visual, auditory. Auditory means student hear and they learn better in hearing. Visual means they look, they see, and they can learn. And then the last one, the third one is kinesthetic, in which a student needs to do something in order to be able to learn well. So first, I would suggest to a student to have their learning style tested, and then later do activities that are related to their learning style. If, for example, a student is an auditory learner, they like to listen to things, they can listen to videos, look at videos, listen to songs. That will be very effective to them. If a person is a visual learner, then they probably will be enough for them to just read or look at slides or maybe even look at videos, and it will come very fast to them. Yeah, and for a kinesthetic student, they will need to do something. Like for example, if I teach them about verbs, it is not enough for them to just listen about the verb. They need to practice what the verb is. For example, in Kadazandusun, there's the verb magansak, which is cooking. They will remember perhaps, but if they do it, they will know what they're doing. So those are among the things that we can do for foreign students to learn effectively. Yeah, and also of course practice. Yeah, once they are a foreign language learner, it is not enough to just sit in the classroom and listen to the teacher, but it is really up to the students to do extra, like communicate with their friends from the same ethnic groups, or just do some online practices if it is available. Yeah, so basically practice makes perfect.
In your opinion, madam, what are the benefits of learning foreign language, especially for the students?
Okay, yeah, that's a very legit question, as they say. There are a lot of benefits of learning a foreign language. If the foreign language is something global, like Mandarin, for example, Mandarin is considered a global language as well, Japanese or Korean, then the student will have a chance to go overseas and practice their skill. They might even stand a better chance of getting a job overseas if they learn foreign language. Yeah, and also, most importantly, it will enable them to understand the culture of other native speakers. Yeah, because as we know, cultures are really different. Like for us in Malaysia, um, our culture of calling somebody auntie and uncle, somebody who's older, it is fine with us. But in certain country, it is an insult if you call somebody older with auntie or uncle if you're not related to them. So learning a foreign language can actually teach you on the culture aspect of that language. So that would be very good. And for less commonly taught language, I use the term less commonly taught language. For foreign language like Kadazandusun, which is only taught in a specific part of the world, there is still benefit because at least you get to know the person from that community, you get to know the culture, and you can see the beauty of the foreign language in that sense. Yeah, so actually, basically, there are a lot of benefits that you can gain. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, madam. Based on your experience as a lecturer, what is the biggest conflict that you have ever been in teaching foreign language, and how did you handle the situation?
Okay. When you talk about conflict, there are two things that came into mind. Physical conflict, that means when I'm teaching, I face conflicts, physical conflicts with student, or um, internal conflict, which is within the language itself. To tell you the truth, I never had any physical conflict with while teaching the foreign language, but I did face some internal conflict with the language itself because each language is different. So when you teach them to students, sometimes understanding is very different from students, yeah. And also perhaps the nature of the language itself, like for Kadazandusun, there are certain words that are perfectly normal in Kadazandusun, but in other language the meaning becomes really different. For example, I think I'm going to say something which might be shocking to you. So be ready for any shocking situation. Okay, in Kadazandusun, sounds are very important, like ending sounds very important. The word tontoluk is egg. But when you accidentally pronounce it as tontolu, it refers to the male private part. So there was one time when this male student was trying very hard to make a sentence and say, "Magansa ako da tontolu." Okay, so because in foreign language we try to teach the student to pronounce as perfectly as possible as a native speaker. In Kadazandusun, every sound must be pronounced magansak. Okay, at the end we have to say it very clearly. Yeah, but the students say it magansak because influence from his first language, I guess. And then Tontolu, he couldn't pronounce the word Tontolu, so he had to say Tontolu, which made the meaning very different.
Very different.
So basically, the kind of conflict that I face in teaching is this kind, in which the meaning changes, and I had difficulty to explain to students that it becomes a very rude sentence or word because of the nature of the language. So basically, in foreign language teaching, that is all I ever face, and the way I handle it is to just tell the students very directly that they're doing something wrong and emphasize on the correctness of the pronunciation. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, madam.
You're welcome.
Okay, madam. Last but not the least, do you have any additional information that you would like to share, maybe about the foreign language learning here in UMS?
Oh, I would say that in UMS, sometimes foreign languages in UMS are not really known to outsiders. Yeah, because even though we have 10 languages in PPIB, sometimes when you ask them what are the languages here in UMS, they just don't know what they are. Perhaps because of under promotion and stuff like that. But yeah, in the past 2 years, we have tried to rectify the situation, like organizing the International Language and Culture Carnival. Just 2 days ago, we had the ILCC 2018. Normally, we will choose a theme to highlight, and the students will have exhibition booths from every language in which they display whatever relevant information about their language based on the theme. Last 2 days, we had wedding cultures, so every booth presented wedding cultures of their own. And then at night they had performances in which they performed the wedding cultures of their languages. And I think this is a very good way of actually letting people know that we have foreign language. Yeah, and yeah, making outsider aware of the richness of the languages in PPIB. And another thing I would say, it is my hope that in the future there will be enough staff in PPIB to actually offer foreign language not only to people who are qualified to take it, but also people who are interested to take it. Yeah. So hopefully in the future, foreign language will be more known in UFS.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, madam, thank you so much for having us here. I hope you have a great day today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for willing to be interviewed by us today. We would like to ask you some questions regarding to our topics. There is culture and foreign language learning. Okay, before we start, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, like your profession, your background, something like that?
Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good evening. A little bit about myself. My name is Abdul Aziz bin Arshad. Okay, and I'm an English language teacher. Currently attached to Sabah Malaysian Sports School, right? And I have been teaching English since 2011, right? But officially I was appointed as a government officer back in 2012, right? So this is my second time teaching here as a part-timer. Previously I was teaching oral communication, and that was back in 2014 if I'm not mistaken. And currently I'm teaching, like this semester I'm teaching reading and writing. Yeah.
So our topic is based on foreign language.
Mm.
Do you think that there is a lot of benefits of learning foreign language?
Oh, it goes without saying. It goes without saying. That's the reason why I think like a lot of institutions, not just higher learning institutions, but also if you look at some high performing schools, for example, like Mara Junior Science College and SBP, for example, right? Some of them, they offer third language to the students, like Japanese and German, for example, French even, because they can see that being bilingual, or in this case multilingual, has a lot of benefits to the students.
Okay, sir. How do you engage your students to use the foreign language?
Right. It's a bit funny to hear that, because I have been teaching English my whole life so far, and normally English is considered a second language instead of foreign language. But it's true to some extent. It's true to some extent, even though we consider English as a second language here in the country, but that's not always the case. What I mean by that, if you go to some rural areas, outskirt areas in the country, for example, like we have a lot of places in Sarawak, Sabah even, for example, in which English is actually not a second language. It's considered as third language. BM is considered, or our Bahasa is considered as the second language. And their mother tongue, for example, like we have Kadazan Dusun, for example, here, it's considered as their first language. Right, so to engage them in foreign language, as you mentioned, it's not easy. They have a lot. So for me, the most important thing for me to do, right, the first thing that I will do to engage them in foreign language is to break down, like mental barriers. To break down mental barriers. Like when they go to schools, or for example, when they go to a classroom to learn a third language, for example, or second language for that matter, they come with barriers. They come with barriers that we cannot see. So those barriers are mental barriers. They come to the classroom thinking that, God, it's so hard, it's difficult, what is this? Why do I need to learn this? This is another language that I cannot master. So the first thing is to break those barriers down.
Okay, so based on your experience as a lecturer, what are the challenges in teaching this foreign language?
Right. Okay. So if I could just, like perhaps mention a few. I think the first one, like I mentioned previously, is to break those barriers down. All right, and it's important, and it's something that not many people are aware of. The thing that like when they go to the classroom, okay, here I have like some vocabulary, here I have like some grammatical items that I want to teach you, and they will make the students memorize without, and it often fails. It often fails. Why? Because they forget one thing, which is to break those barriers. So I think the first one is, I think like one of the ways or one of the challenges actually is to break those barriers. And number two, I think like how do we make them see that actually the language is important? I think the reason why many students, like refuse to engage themselves, to learn the language is because they don't see the reason why they need to learn the language until they go out into the real world, in the working world, and they will see that, oh my God, right?
Yes.
And by that time, of course, it's a little bit too late. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Last but not least, based on your experience, how far does the students adapt with the foreign language? Are they manage to learn quickly, or they take much time to learn to adapt with that?
All right. Okay. I think it's the same thing with learning anything in this world. Like there's no shortcut. There is absolutely no shortcut. So to say that they adapt quickly to learning foreign language, I think is a bit of, what I mentioned as, it's funny to put it that way because it's never easy and it's never quick, right? We're talking about changing perceptions. We're talking about changing mentality, and it's not easy, right? So, of course, for them to learn to adapt, it is time consuming, it takes a lot of time, and one who teaches foreign language has to be patient, right? Yeah. And then because they will expect, like these kids, when they go to classroom wanting to learn a new language, they will come, like I mentioned, with a lot of doubts and fears and uncertainties. So, for example, like English, because I can only speak from that point of view because I've been teaching English, right? One of the things that makes students, like afraid is the complexity of English grammar. So they will always say that the grammar it's too difficult, it's hard to understand. I don't get it why it is like this, and then especially because English has a lot of exceptions. Yeah, it has a lot of exceptions. Once you understand like certain rules, and you think that the rules will apply to everything, which is not the case. So because of that, they are afraid of a lot of things. So adapting takes time. Yeah.
I think that's all for today. We truly appreciate your time spending with us, and it's a pleasure meeting you. Ahlan wa sahlan, Ana Izzati. Ana adrusu fi Jamiati Malaysia Sabah. Ana uhibbu al-lughata al-arabiyah. Before this, I've been learning Arabic for 3 semesters in my university. In my opinion, foreign language can boost up your creativity skill and your memory too.
Kopi sanangan and a very good morning. Ngaranku Nopongai Nusapika Amat. In my opinion,
it is good idea to learn foreign language. For me, it is very fun and useful knowledge which we can learn about others' cultural language. Based on my experience, studied the Kadazan Dusun language, it made me think how different my cultural and Kadazan Dusun cultural language. But then, at some point, there is a similarity between our language, especially in terms of words and action. And that was make me become more interested to learn about this cultural. We should always find the chances to learn foreign language anytime in every way because it is very enjoyable. That's it. Thank you.
Kopi sanangan ngaranku Nopunga Siti Fatimah binti Kasamuddin. In my opinion, learning a foreign language can benefit us in terms of to get to know other cultures. This is because language is a verbal expression of a culture. For example, I have learned Kadazan Dusun language before. While learning this language, my knowledge is not only restricted and limited to the language itself, but also I can get to know about the Kadazan Dusun foods, festivals and celebrations, taboos and restrictions, and also song. Apart from knowing the culture, we can protect ethnic sensitivity by understanding the ethnic well. That's all, thank you.
大家好，我的名字叫 Shahinas Ahmad，我在校巴大学学习韩语，我今年22岁。In my opinion, learning foreign language is very helpful for us, especially when we want to travel abroad. It is because knowing more than one language opens up your vacation destination possibilities. Traveling through a foreign country becomes much easier if you can speak the language of that country. Fluency isn't required. Locals anywhere appreciate that you've taken the time to at least attempt to learn and communicate in their tongue. It shows a greater level of respect and is an easy way to meet new people. Thank you.
大家好，我的名字叫 Elmia Amanda Rebecca binti Ahmad，我今年22岁，我在上巴大学学习韩语。I've been taking Mandarin course for 3 semesters in this university, and I think learning foreign language gives a lot of benefits for students. And the main benefit is it builds up my confidence. Confidence increases when a new skill is mastered, and learning foreign language is no different. In order to master a new language, conversation with native and fluent speakers are essential. Plus, who doesn't want to be interesting?